Back to the Jeff and Bill show. While we were at CPAC, we made lots of friends. I love CPAC. I always have a good time.
Some of us made friends.
Dude, you became the notorious Bill Thorpe.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And you get to meet lots of characters. And when I say characters, I mean people that are just kind of fun to talk to. And they're unique and interesting. One of them is Gary Barve. Now, Gary is already running for president in 2028. But now I heard both at CPAC, and I've heard Trump float the idea of a third term by President Trump. So why does Gary hate President Trump so much? He thinks he's got to replace him. I doubt he does, but I'm going to ask him that question. He joins us now on the Jeff and Bill show. Gary, thanks for being on the program.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome back.
Hey, Jeff, Bill, how are you? Great to be back on the Jeff and Bill show. And hey, you said, Jeff, 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. It's about 8 o'clock here, but I was watching your show earlier, and I said, he just announced that I'm going to be on the show, so I just decided to log on a little bit earlier. I'm happy to be on your show, Jeff, happy to be on your show, Bill, as well. And I'm the biggest, most loyal supporter of President Trump in the country, and I'll answer your question as well, Jeff. Let me quickly introduce myself to your great viewers and listeners. My name is Gary Barve. I am a youth supporter of our President Donald J. Trump, a proud Republican of the Republican Party that belongs to our President Donald J. Trump. And I'm officially running for President of the United States of America in the 2028 election to help President Trump make America great again, keep America great, and to help him save America. And I'm running because I love President Trump. I love our country, the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. And I love our great American people, and I want to help President Trump make America great again. That's why I'm running. And Jeff, you asked me the question about President Trump's, potential third term run. And, I have been asked this question a lot in the previous few weeks and months. And look, the Constitution, I believe, says 2 terms, but I've said this to a lot of people, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it consistently. If President Donald J. Trump is top of the ticket, on the ballot, top of the ballot in the 2028 presidential election cycle, I will drop out of the election. And I wouldn't be happy about it. I know Michael Stapleford from the Good Morning Keys radio show asked me this question recently as well. And I said, I won't be happy about it, but I'll do it because I love President Trump. I love our country, the greatest country in the world, the United States of America, and I love our great American people. And I am the biggest, most loyal supporter of President Trump, and I have been since my first election cycle campaign in the 2020 election cycle. So great to be on your show, Jeff and Bill, and, great meeting you, Jeff, at CPAC 2025. I know I said to you that I thought you got the best out of me during that interview, just your energy and your cowboy hat. I don't think you're wearing a cowboy hat today, but your cowboy hat is fantastic, Jeff. And Bill, you and I think you were online on that interview, and great to be with you as well.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to leave the state only under certain conditions. But you can understand that after a conversation. I'm teasing.
He said
he was fun.
He said he's not allowed to leave the state. But
yes.
Now, Gary,
I thought Bill and I had a really nice. I said it on social media. I thought Bill and I, during our first interview in February of this year, had a very, I would say, a combative debate, but a very respectful debate as well. And I thought a very friendly debate.
Oh yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Again, very happy to be on your show, gentlemen.
Oh, Gary, let's talk about 2028, because even if Donald Trump doesn't run, everybody looks at J.D. Vance and goes, J.D.'s doing a great job. Why wouldn't J.D. Vance be the best next step for the MAGA movement?
Well, you asked me this question during the previous interview as well. I'm happy to answer again. Hey, by the way, Jeff and Bill, I cannot see your videos. Are you on video on my screen? Is that something?
Yeah, we can see you. You're looking great. So even if you can't see us, everything looks great on our end. You're very handsome.
So
I'm much more thin. I'm much younger and have a lot more hair than. I'm just teasing. All
right, so you've been working out a lot, right?
Yes,
you've been working out a lot since the last 2 months.
So much, as far as you know, yes. Yeah, continue, my friend.
Well, Jeff, you just said I look very handsome, and President Trump said during one of his speeches many years back, he said, there was this person. President Trump was saying this at a speech. He said, there was this person who said, President Trump, you look. Or at that time, Donald Trump, you look very handsome. And President Trump said, can you believe this? I love this person. And so I love you, Jeff, for saying that. Thank you very much. But let's talk about Jerry Vance a little bit. I know we talked about it during the previous interview. Look, Jerry Vance is, in my opinion, a docile cheeks beta male. And, I said this during the previous interview as well. And, I call him a doofus. Jerry Vance, I call him a doofus. Now, let me say this. President Trump made the right decision by selecting Jerry Vance as his vice president. Nothing against that decision. I love President Trump. President Trump made the right decision. Nothing against that decision. But look, you need a certain type of personality to be president of the United States of America, and you need a certain type of personality to be vice president of the United States of America. And, President Trump has that alpha male, I am president of the United States of America ability that I believe I have as well. And, J.D. Vance compliments President Trump in a really nice way. J.D. Vance has that docile cheeks beta male personality, and he sort of stays in the background, and that's fine. And, I call him docile for that reason and beta male for that reason, but I call J.D. Vance cheeks beta male. And, I think I said this during the previous interview as well, Jeff. I call him cheeks beta male, and I sort of say this tongue in cheek. But I say it because I believe J.D. Vance is conscious about his big cheeks, and he covers it up with his beard. And, I sort of feel it almost, if you look at some of J.D. Vance's previous videos, without the beard, it seems like he has 2 or 3 pomegranates in his mouth. And, that's a perpetual situation for him. And when he puts on the beard, it looks a little bit better, but it still looks like he's got these big cheeks. And I think he's very conscious about his big cheeks. And I sort of say this tongue in cheek. But look, a lot of people have said, why are you attacking the vice president of the United States of America, J.D. Vance? And the reason for that is very simple. I want to knock J.D. Vance out of the election on the political stage. Politically, I want to knock him out of the election if he decides to run for president in the 2028 election cycle, because I want to win this election, and not just for some power grab, Jeff and Bill. I genuinely believe that I'm the right man to lead our great United States of America 2028 and beyond as the 48th president of the United States of America, to make America great again. Keep America great and save America as a Republican.
I want to ask you about that. Gary Barve, he's the candidate for president. You can go to his website, Gary Barve, BARVE, foramerica.com. Gary, what experience do you have to be president of the United States? Have you won local office? Have you won state office?
Great question. So I'll start by saying this. I'm not comparing myself to President Trump when I say what I'm going to say, but I'll say it. The first office that President Donald J. Trump ran for is the President of the United States of America. I'll start with that, and I'll say this. I have been involved in the Trump Republican Party as the biggest, most loyal supporter of President Trump when I ran for city council for the first time in the 2020 election cycle in Santa Clara, California. And, we had a tremendous result. We got 23% of the vote. Our campaign got 23% of the vote in a 3-person race. And there were, to my memory, Jeff and Bill, there were only about 17% Republicans in the district that I ran in, and I ran as the biggest supporter of President Trump. I wore a red Make Santa Clara Great hat during that campaign, had a tremendous result. I have run for U.S. Congress as well in the 2024 primary election in Florida, in the 23rd district in Florida, again as a Republican supporter of the man, President Donald J. Trump. And I'll say this, I have taken on criminals and gangs and cartels and drug dealers and drug smugglers and human traffickers in a way that I believe only President Donald J. Trump has done in the history of our country on the political stage. Again, I'm not comparing my courage with the courage that our great police, sheriffs, ICE, military, veterans, firefighters, and first responders have. I have tremendous respect for their selflessness and their courage. But I'm saying on the political stage, I'll give you an example, Jeff and Bill. There are these gangs that have come into our country, I'll give you an example. Tren de Aragua, right? There's this gang, Tren de Aragua, they call themselves. And, the first thing I said to myself when I heard about this gang, Tren de Aragua, is what a stupid name for a gang, right? Who names their gang Tren de Aragua? It's a stupid name, and I know you and I talked about this, Jeff, during the previous interview as well. I know you're in Colorado, and, this Tren de Aragua gang took over an entire building in Colorado recently, and I know you visited that building and, broadcasted on your show as well. And, these are vicious criminals. There's another gang, MS-13. These are bad people. They literally cut people up just for fun. And so just to show a little bit of courage, I'll say it right now. This is a live broadcast, Jeff and Bill. I'll say it right now. My direct message to any criminals, gangs, cartels such as Tren de Aragua and MS-13, any gang members that are listening into this interview or watching this interview right now, my direct message to these gang members is get the hell out of our great United States of America. If you don't, we will incarcerate members of your gang, or we will kick out of our country members of your gang. And I believe, President Trump is doing that in a fantastic way. You see the situation with a lot of illegal immigrant gang members being deported back to their country of origin. And I think that's a fantastic thing for our country. Look, keeping the American people safe and secure is, in my opinion, and I believe in President Donald J. Trump's opinion as well, the most important thing that a president or a candidate for president or really any American can do for our great American people. And I will say this, if I get elected 48th president of the United States of America, America will be, if not the safest country in the world, it will be one of the most safest countries in the world. I believe it will happen prior to that under the leadership of the man, President Donald J. Trump. But I will get this done if I'm elected 48th president of the United States of America. I genuinely believe that law and order, police, sheriffs, ICE, military, veterans, firefighters, first responders, law and order is the most important thing, or I would say it's the fabric that holds our country together and makes us one of the greatest country in the world.
Now that is the voice of Gary Barve. Sorry to interrupt you there, Gary. That's the voice of Gary Barve. He is running to be president in 2028, but with the caveat that if Donald Trump is afforded the possibility of a third term, he will drop out. I want to dovetail off of that a little bit there with you, Gary, talking about the gang members and specifically the idea of deporting people into the El Salvador prison that we've been discussing. Yep. The first thing is, yes, I want to have your opinion on, and again, because we don't want to go through the name, etc., it's easiest just to refer to him as the Maryland man that is accused of being an MS-13 member. And
Kilmar, I think you're talking about the Kilmar.
Yes. Yep, exactly.
Kilmar.
That's him. Yep.
Kilmar Garcia,
yep.
I think.
Yeah,
Kilmar
so
Garcia.
what's your opinion? Do you believe that the Supreme Court is right, that the U.S. government needs to facilitate the return of that man, or is Donald Trump right that he should stay there? What's your opinion?
President Trump. Sorry, go on.
No, just, what's your opinion on that? Who's right, Supreme Court or Trump?
It's a very simple... Yes, I believe this is Bill asking the question.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Most definitely I'm with President Donald J. Trump on that. Look, there's evidence that Kilmar Garcia is a MS-13 gang member. There has been reported incidents about Kilmar Garcia interacting with MS-13 gang members at a parking lot. I believe there's evidence of that. There's evidence about some, investigation or things like that about this Kilmar Garcia person. I believe he's a MS-13 gang member. I know there's a Democrat senator, I believe from Maine, who is actually visiting El Salvador to try and get the MS-13 gang member back into our country. And look, I think that's what the Democrat Party has come down to. And it's a very sad situation for our country, but really it's a sad situation for our great American people because the Republican Party, and it is President Donald J. Trump's Republican Party, is determined to get the illegal immigrant gang members, such as MS-13, Tren de Aragua, back to their country of origin under the, I believe, the Alien Enemies Act.
Alien Enemies Act. Yeah, so Gary Barve, candidate for U.S. president. Hang on, Gary. Gary, hang on a sec. I understand what you're saying. The Democrat Party is going to embrace the gangsters, and that's who they are right now. But what I want to ask you about is, so are you saying because the gentleman we're talking about out of the MS-13 alleged member out of Maryland, there was an order in 2019 that said while he is illegal, he should not be deported back to El Salvador because of gang persecution. So were the courts wrong there, or was Donald Trump wrong when he just, despite that order, decided to send him back to El Salvador? And would you make the same decision?
Well, the first thing I'll say is I support President Trump. Look, I'm not privy to all the legal, lawful information and legal context when it comes to situations like this. I'm a candidate for president. You need the power of the seat to have all the information. So I don't want to make a conclusion on whether the court is right. I would say the court is not right. But I don't want to make a determined conclusion on that. All I'm saying is under the Alien Enemies Act, President Trump has the right to send an illegal immigrant gang member back to his country of origin. And I support that completely. I will not fight, Bill, if you're trying to say that I don't know if you support this or not, but I will say this. I'm not going to fight for an illegal MS-13 gang member to be brought back into our country when he has created the gang has created havoc in our country. I will not support that. I'm with President Donald J. Trump completely on this. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, El Salvador has said, at least I saw the news a few minutes back. I don't know if that's changed in the last few minutes. But I believe El Salvador has said they're not going to allow the Democrat senator from
they didn't allow him to see him. Yeah, he only met with the vice president of El Salvador yesterday. He didn't have any access to the prison, and they wouldn't let him talk to him or meet them. And nor should he have had any access.
I want to hear Jeff's opinion on this. Jeff, where are you on this?
Oh, I'm thrilled he's gone. No, he shouldn't have been in this country anyways. He's from El Salvador.
Exactly.
Send him back to El Salvador. And if you don't want him in the prison, well, then it's up to El Salvador to let him go. But this guy hit his then girlfriend, I think now wife. There's reports of domestic violence, of human trafficking. Yeah. No, this guy's not good. Get him out of there. And more importantly, it sends a message to everybody else. If you're not here legally, it's time to go.
Exactly right.
And then I point out too that everyone's really concerned about process. Due process. We didn't follow the process with this guy. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Okay, where was that concern when they were literally crossing the border illegally to come up here? You didn't care about the process then.
Jeff, I think you make an interesting point. Look, I do believe in law and order. I do believe in due process, but I am saying that in the context, we are within the bounds of law and order right now under the Alien Enemies Act for President Donald J. Trump to deport this gang member, MS-13 gang member. I'm talking about the MS-13 gang member, Kilmar Garcia. I'm saying under the Alien Enemies Act, President Trump is within his legal rights as Commander-in-Chief, as the 47th President of the United States of America, to send this gang member back to El Salvador. And look, I believe in law and order. Don't get me wrong, Jeff. Don't get me wrong, Bill. I believe in law and order. We are a country of law and order. What I'm saying is, from the information that I have, President Donald J. Trump is within his right to send this illegal alien gang member, MS-13 gang member, Kilmar Garcia, back to El Salvador. And that's why I supported that.
Gary, we're talking with Gary Barve. Gary Barve wants to be president of the United States. We met him at CPAC. Now, we got a question here coming in on the text lines, Gary. Were you born here in America? Because with your accent, it doesn't sound like it. Thoughts?
Yeah, I was born in Summit, New Jersey. By the way, who's asking the question? Is it one of your audience members?
Yeah, we have callers and texters so we get a lot of different voices throughout the show.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank the audience member for tuning in and for watching the interview, and appreciate the question as well. Hope that the audience member will vote for me, right? Vote Gary Barr for president. I'm the biggest, most loyal supporter of President Donald J. Trump in the country. To answer the question, yes, I was born in Summit, New Jersey in 1984, so I'm 40 years old. And I do have an accent. I think you're right, Jeff. It's very obvious. I have a little bit of an accent. And, my family relocated to India when I was about 4.5 years old. And, I would have loved to grow up in my country, the United States of America. But, at 4.5 years old, you really do not have much of a say in these decisions. But I came back home to the United States of America right after my undergrad. And I have lived in Massachusetts, Texas. I have lived in California, Virginia, Florida, Iowa, and I now live in Arizona. So, look, I have been asked this question before, about my accent and things like that. And I say this, I'm American, and I have President Donald J. Trump, Republican American blood in me. And I will someday save America.
I believe that 110%, that you have red, white, and blue coursing through your veins from the tippy top of your head all the way down to the edge of your toes. I do not doubt that. You're listening to Gary Barve, who is running for president in 2028, hopefully on the Republican ticket. But if and only if current President Donald Trump.
It will be on the Republican ticket. I'm a registered.
Yep. And the only reason I said hopefully is because that's only if Donald Trump cannot find a way to run for a third term. If he can't, then Gary's in the race. If Donald Trump can find that third term path, then Gary will happily demur until the next possible election that he can run for president and continue Donald Trump's great work, is what he's telling us this morning. Now, I know that we need to wrap up our conversation here in just a second, Gary, but I want to ask you about one of the big domestic platforms. We've been looking externally a lot. Now I want to talk about internal, more about economics and Donald Trump's plan for tariffs. Do you agree with his plan on tariffs? Would you continue it? Why? Why not?
Great question. You touched upon the U.S. flag. You said red, white, and blue. Could I quickly comment on our great American flag, please? I love our great American flag. And
Sure.
I've come up with, and I'm going to answer your question about tariffs as well, Bill. But look, I love our great American flag, and I've made a policy about our great American red, white, and blue, our great American flag. Look, when Jimmy Carter died recently, right, our great American flag was flying what they call half-staff or half-mast. And, there's a great speech by President Trump where he says, "Have you challenged accepted wisdom?" And I said to myself, why is our great American flag flying half-staff or half-mast? And, it is to show respect to certain situations and events. And so I said to myself, I want to see our great American flag fly high and proud, 24/7, 365, all the time. I want our friends to see our great American flag fly high and proud. I want our enemies to see our great American flag fly high and proud. I want our American people to see our great American flag fly high and proud all the time. And so I made a campaign promise, and it's on my campaign social media. If I get elected 48th President of the United States of America, the American flag will always fly high and proud, full staff, full mast all the time. And we will find an alternate way to show respect to certain situations and events as a country. I support that. But the flag will always fly high and proud. And I think it'll have a tremendous patriotic, positive, emotional impact on our great American people. And let me answer your question about tariffs. I support President Donald J. Trump's decision. I think you're talking about what President Trump called Liberation Day. And, he imposed tariffs on about 180 countries, or probably a few more than that, 180 countries across the world. And he called it reciprocal tariffs, and I call it reciprocal tariffs with kindness, because I think, look, what's happened is a lot of these countries, friendly countries, countries that are not very friendly to us, and countries that are I would say that some of these countries are enemies, have been ripping off our great United States of America with large tariffs. And, it impacts our great American people, the American worker, the American bartenders, restaurant workers, farmers, coal mine workers, police, sheriffs, ICE, military, veterans, firefighters, first responders, our great American motorcycle riders, truckers. It impacts our great American people who work really, really hard to make a living. And it is your Republican Party, it is your country, and we will not stand for these other countries ripping our country off with huge tariffs.
How is that, Gary? How do tariffs rip off America? How do you feel that happens?
Great question. So here's how tariffs works. Here's how tariffs work, right? I'll give you a quick example. Let's say, and I'll quickly say this. Because of these tariffs, now what's going to happen is industry and businesses and manufacturing is going to come back into our United States of America, and jobs are going to be created not in China, not in Mexico, not in some other country. Jobs are going to be created in our great United States of America. And guess what happens when jobs are created, when companies are started, manufacturing is started, facilities, factories are started in America? What happens is American people get hired. You get hired. American people get hired. American people get jobs. And that is a tremendous thing for our country. And look, I want to see our American companies to make a lot of profit. I have nothing against American companies making money. I have nothing against American companies making profit. But I do not want our American companies to make a lot of profit at the cost and expense of our great American people. And so here's where tariffs comes into the picture, right, Bill? I'm going to answer your question right now. So here's what happens, right? A lot of companies, I'll give you an example, right? Let's take an example of an American, let's say a car manufacturing company, right? Just for sake of an example. So a lot of these companies want to manufacture outside our United States of America and bring the product back into our United States of America and sell the product in our United States of America to our American people. And one of the reasons for that is, let's say they build a manufacturing plant in Mexico, right? There's cheap labor in Mexico, and so they hire the people in Mexico. I'm taking an example. And so they have higher margins because of the low cost to make the product, and then they sell it at a price in America. And because of the higher margins, the company makes a higher profit. And look, when this happens, the American people do not get the advantage of job opportunities, right? And so here's where tariffs comes into the picture, right? If I get elected 48th President of the United States of America, I will say this wherever practical to the American companies or companies building their product outside America and bringing it back into our country. I will say, I will impose a 20% tariff, 50% tariff, 100% tariff, or as a deterrent, 1,000% tariff on the goods that you bring from outside America to sell within America. Here's what happens. When you do this, the American companies or any companies realize they do not have the economic viability to now build outside America and sell in America because the tariffs sort of overtake the advantage of building the product outside our country.
Or you could be killing the entire industry because it's too expensive for consumers to afford it. So the industry could just die.
I will answer that question.
Well,
Gary, we got to go.
Yeah, we're running out.
Gary, I hate this. We got to go.
Gary, I got 2 quick questions for you. We got to run here real quick.
Jeff, my friend, let me quickly answer another quick thing. The other advantage is, see, now jobs are created in America because the companies come back into our U.S. But look, I support the corporate tax to go down from 21% to 15% as well, because that's an added incentive for these companies to now build in America, manufacture in America. And I know there's been some conversation about this tax reduction, and at this time I'm supporting it. Obviously, you need at some point the power of the seat, the power of the presidency to have all the information to make a determination on this. But at this time, I'm supporting the low taxes.
Now, Gary, we've got to get to a break here. We're coming up on a hard break. Gary Barve for America, if you want to learn more about him. Gary, real quick, Donald Trump's
yes, sir.
Mantra, make America great again, then keep America great again. Your mantra is?
Make America great again. Keep America great and save America. And I'll end it with this. I don't know if you wanted to stay on for the segment after the commercial break, but I'll say this. I respect all religions, but I'm Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. I believe the Bible is the Word of God. And I genuinely believe Jesus Christ is with President Trump. Jesus Christ is with our country, the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. And Jesus Christ is with you, our great American people. And America will be saved. We will save America, and it's America first all the way. Thank you very much.
Gary Barve, thank you. Running for president.